Public International Law, Unit 5. So these are the important questions in the Unit 5. We will see one by one. The first important concept is United Nations Organization. So what is the meaning of UNO? It is an international organization established to maintain peace and security among all the states. Purpose. The main purpose is to maintain international peace and security and to develop friendly relations among nations. So these are the purpose of UN. The next are principles of UN. So Article 2 of the UN Charter speaks about the principles of UN. The first principle is principle of sovereign equality of all members. So it should provide sovereign equality to all of the state members, but the permanent members of the UN are provided certain special privileges. The next principle is to ensure rights and benefits arising of membership in good faith. All the members of the UN should be given their rights and benefits in good faith. The next principle is peaceful settlement of international disputes. The UN should try to solve the disputes among states peacefully. The next principle is non-intervention. That is, one state should not interfere in the affairs of another state. The next principle is state gives assistance in action of a UN charter. So whatever decision UN makes, all the members of UN should assist the UN. And the states who oppose UN, the members of the UN should go against that state. Non-members also act according to these principles. So the states who are not members of UN, the UN tries to make them follow those principles. The next principle is non-intervention in domestic matters of state by UN. The UN will in no means try to interfere in the domestic matters of any state. So the next concept is principal organs of United Nations organizations. So the principal organs of UN are the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. The important ones in these are the General Assembly, the Security Council, and the International Court of Justice only. The General Assembly of UN composition. So it consists of all the members of UN. So all the state members are participants in this. Five representatives from each member. So each state has five of its representative in the General Assembly representing the state. At present, there are a total of 191 members in General Assembly. Functions and powers. So what are the functions and powers of General Assembly of UN? First is deliberative functions. So what are deliberative functions? To discuss powers and functions of any organs except on matters of Security Council dispute. So the General Assembly will hold discussions discussing the powers and functions of any organs. So what powers and functions should they give to these all the remaining organs? The General Assembly discusses except on the matter of Security Council. The general principle of cooperation and maintenance of peace, armament and disarmament. So it decides about the armament and disarmament rules about guns. The next is bring attention of a Security Council on matters affecting peace and security. So if there is a breach of peace and security, the General Assembly will bring this matter to the attention of Security Council. The next is consider and make recommendations on matters affecting international peace and security. So it will make recommendations on matters regarding which affects the international peace and security. The next is promote development of international law. It tries to promote the development of international law. Supervisory functions. Supervise all other organs and organs submit annual report to General Assembly. So it tries to supervise all other organs regarding their matters. The next function is financial functions. So Article 17 provides financial functions to General Assembly. So what are its financial functions? Consider and approve budget of UN. So it considers and approves the budget of UN. It decides the budget of UN. And the budget of UN is borne by the member state of UN. The member state of UN should contribute to the budget of UN. And it also decides the budget for specialized agencies. The next is elective functions. There are two types of elective functions. One is admission and suspension of a new state to UN. So the General Assembly has power to admit any new state in UN, or it can suspend any existing state from UN. The next is election of members for other organs. The General Assembly has the power to elect members for other organs of UN. Constituent functions. So the General Assembly has the power to amend the UN Charter on the recommendation of Security Council. The next important concept is the Security Council. Composition. There are in total 15 members in Security Council. Among those, 5 are permanent members. China, Russia, America, France and Britain are permanent members, and the remaining 10 are non-permanent members. Object of the Security Council is to maintain maintenance of international peace and security. Powers and functions or the roles of Security Council. First power is maintenance of international peace and security. System of regulation of armaments. So the Security Council decides the system of regulation of armaments about the guns. It regulates it. The next is hold meeting with representatives of states. So the Security Council arranges meetings with the representatives of the states. Then it gives sanctions against aggressors. So the state who is doing aggression, the Security Council will impose sanctions against them. So what do you mean by aggression? Aggression is use of armed force by a state against another state. So if a state is doing aggression, the Security Council will impose sanctions upon them. Sanctions are nothing but punishments. The next is elective functions of Security Council. Article 97 of the UN Charter provides elective functions for Security Council. With the help of General Assembly, electing judge of International Court of Justice. So with the help of General Assembly, the Security Council elects judges of International Court of Justice. And it has a power to recommend a Secretary General of UN with the help of General Assembly. Supervisory functions are mentioned under Article 5. So the supervisory functions of Security Council are admission and expulsion of members. So it can admit members and expel any member state of UN. Recommend it to General Assembly. Then supervision of strategic areas in trusteeship. The next are constituent functions under Article 108. So amendment by General Assembly to UN must be ratified by the permanent members of Security Council by two-thirds majority. So if a General Assembly makes any amendment to the UN Charter, then it should be ratified or it should be confirmed by the permanent members of the Security Council by a two-thirds majority. Only then the amendment will be made, or else the amendment will not be made. The next important concept is the International Court of Justice. Composition. So the International Court of Justice consists of 15 judges elected by General Assembly on recommendation of Security Council. So they are elected by General Assembly on the recommendation of Security Council. So all the judges have a 9-year term, and after the expiry of their 9-year term, they can be re-elected. Jurisdiction or powers of the International Court of Justice. So the first is contentious jurisdiction. Under contentious jurisdiction, it has two heads. Voluntary jurisdiction. So Article 36(1) of the Statute of International Court of Justice provides that the cases which parties refer and matters provided by the Charter of UN. So if the parties bring a matter to the International Court of Justice, then the International Court of Justice has the power or jurisdiction over that matter. And any other matter which is provided by the Charter of UN, the International Court of Justice has jurisdiction over it. Then Article 59 provides that the decision whatever the International Court of Justice makes will be binding on the parties. Optional jurisdiction. So Article 36 Clause 2 of the International Court of Statute of the International Court of Justice provides that the state may refer matter in respect of another state. So a state on behalf of another state may recommend any matter to International Court of Justice. On the matter should be interpretation of treaty, any question of international law, breach of international obligations, or reparation or compensation for breach of international obligations. Article 36, Clause 3 states about declaring state may make reservations. So the declaring state may make reservations. We have seen the meaning of reservations in previous units. Then advisory jurisdiction. According to Article 65 of Statute of ICJ, the International Court of Justice has power to give advisory opinion. It can only give advice, not judgment. It has the power to give only advisory opinion on request of authorized body by accordance of a UN Charter. So if any authorized body makes a request to ICJ to give opinion, then the ICJ has power to give an advisory opinion on that matter. And any question that is brought to International Court of Justice should be submitted in the format of writing before International Court of Justice. The next important concept is International Labour Organization (ILO). Composition and functions or organs of ILO. The first is General Conference. In this, it consists of each member states gets representation. So in the General Conference of ILO, every member state gets a representation, and each state has its four representatives in the General Conference. Two representatives are from state, one representative represents the workman, and one representative represents the employer in General Assembly. And every state has its four representative. Governing body. There are in total 54 members in governing body, and it is a tripartite, that is, it consists of government, workmen, and employer. There are 10 permanent members. Among these 54 members, only 10 are permanent. And the function of governing body is to appoint a director general and supervise the functions of organizations. The next is International Labour Officers of Secretariat. So the director general is the head of this International Labour Officers of Secretariat. Their function is to collect information related to industrial life and labor and make law. The next is Objects of International Labour Organization. So according to Article 3 of the Declaration of 1944, the following are the objects of ILO. Full employment and rise in living standard. So it tries to give full employment to every state and tries to improve the living standard of every workman. Minimum living wage, to provide minimum necessary living wage to every workman. Recognition to rights and of a collective bargaining. Social security, proper security of health workers. If they are working in a health department, then to give them proper security. Child welfare, proper arrangements of housing, entertainments, etc. Assurance of equal opportunity in education and employment. So these are the objects of our International Labour Organization. The next is World Trade Organization. So it has been asked as a short note every time. Structure is mainly asked. So the structure of a World Trade Organization is it consists of a ministerial conference. It acts as an executive and it holds meetings. The next is the General Council. When the ministerial conference is in meeting, the General Council performs the function of ministerial conference. The next is the dispute settlement body. This body tries to settle the disputes. The next is the trade policy review body. It reviews the trade policy or rules. The next is the committee on trade and development. Then we have bodies provided under trade agreement. So if there is a trade agreement, then the bodies may make on that trade agreement decisions. The next is secretariat. This concludes Unit 5.